Thousands of years before the beauty industry existed, before hair care products lined the shelves of almost every store, before hair care and beauty influencers started recommending the next holy grail every 3 to 5 business days, women were taking care of their hair. How were they doing it? Now, these women were doing their hair care with ingredients that came directly from the earth, ingredients that have been referenced in one of the oldest and most widely read texts in the world, the Holy Bible. Today, I'm going back to ancient biblical times to uncover what women actually used on their hair, what those ingredients are, and what modern science says about whether those ingredients actually still work, even in this day and age. This is not exactly a faith-based video. Yes, I am Christian, but I know I have viewers who may not be Christian, who may be from all walks of life, and who may be from different religions. Please, you will still find this video helpful. This is simply a research-based deep dive, and by the end of the video, you're going to look at some of your favorite ingredients differently, and you're going to discover that you can actually use some ingredients which you didn't know you could use on your hair for hair growth. Before we get into the specific ingredients, I want to give you some context into how hair was viewed in the ancient biblical world. Understanding the cultural significance of hair during this period will also help explain why so much care was given to it even back in those days. Now, in biblical times, hair was not just aesthetic. It was rooted in identity, it was rooted in status, it was rooted in spirituality, and for women, it was rooted in femininity. In 1 Corinthians 11, for example, Paul wrote that a woman's hair was her glory, and that framing was not unique to just early Christianity. Across the ancient Near East, in cultures like Egypt, in Mesopotamia, in Canaan, and in Israel, a woman's hair was considered one of her most prized physical attributes. This means that women in these cultures were not neglecting their hair, but they were tending to it carefully and very intentionally. They were also using what the land around them provided to tend to this hair. The ingredients they used were also not random. If you don't know, in this day and age, all of the Ayurvedic treatments that we use, all of the herbs that we use, all of the plants that we use, all of the seeds that we use for our hair care, even the refined products that have been gotten from all of these raw ingredients, they all came from somewhere. And if you trace it back, you will see that each and every one of these things came from so many different lands way back in the day. And this information has been passed down from generation to generation, such that even though the way that the things have been used have also changed, there are still things that have been told to us, and there are still things that we are encouraged to explore for our hair growth. And that is why most of the times when we go back to these ancient plants and herbs and all of the things and start using them to grow our hair may even grow better than when we use refined products. I hope it's making sense. So the ingredients were not random. They were the result of ancient accumulated knowledge about the things that the earth provides and the benefits of these things for the body, including the hair. Many of these ingredients are referenced directly in biblical texts. For example, in Songs of Solomon, in the books of Esther and Ruth, in Psalms, there are just different passages describing anointing, describing healing, describing preparation rituals. When you cross-reference these ingredients with modern scientific research, the results are simply remarkable. Now, let's get into the ingredients. The ancient biblical ingredients. We're going to start with number 1, perhaps the most prominent one, my personal favorite oil, olive oil. Olive oil is perhaps the most referenced oil in the Bible. It's mentioned a total of 140 times across both the Old and New Testament, and is used for anointing, for healing, for cooking, and for personal care. In Psalm 23, David writes about his head being anointed with oil. This was a common practice in the ancient Near East, where oil was applied to the scalp and also the hair, and it was done as a sign of blessing, of honor, and of care. In the book of Ruth as well, Naomi instructs Ruth to wash, anoint herself with oil, and prepare herself before going to meet Boaz, meaning that oil application was a standard part of personal grooming for women of that time. Now, this is what modern science says about olive oil when it comes to hair care. Juicy. Olive oil is rich in oleic acid, squalene, and vitamin E, all of which have been shown to penetrate the hair shaft and reduce protein loss from inside the hair strand. A study published in the Journal of Cosmetic Science found that oils rich in oleic acid, oils like olive oil, are able to penetrate the hair cortex, which is the inner part of the hair, and reduce any internal damage that may be caused by things like hydral fatigue, which is the swelling and contracting of the hair during the wetting and drying cycle. And for natural hair that is frequently moisturized and dried, this protection is very, very important and necessary. Olive oil also has anti-inflammatory properties, and this has been documented as well, meaning it's very good for scalp health. It reduces inflammation of the scalp, it strengthens the hair follicles, and it reduces thinner or weaker hair strands. How do you apply olive oil? Olive oil is one of those oils that is put in almost every hair product. You can use it on its own, or you can infuse it into other products, mix it with other ingredients. You can use it for massaging your scalp. You can include it in your Ayurvedic oils. You can include it in blends. You can include it in things like hair butter. You can mix it in your pre-poo. You can pretty much use this oil anyway. There are people who say that olive oil is a little too heavy, or personally, I find that olive oil is light. It's most definitely lighter than oils like Jamaican black castor oil. Depending on the olive oil you get, it can even be lighter than oils like coconut oil. So it's one of the oils that are on the lighter side, and I really like to use it. I always use extra virgin olive oil, and the brand that I use, the very popular brand Goya. Let me know in the comments if you've used olive oil on your hair before, whether you mixed it with something or you used it on its own. Go ahead and comment below. The second ingredient is myrrh. Myrrh is one of the most significant botanical substances mentioned in the Bible. It is referenced over 150 times in the Bible, and most notably, you will remember it from the time that it was brought to baby Jesus when he was an infant. Remember, there were three things that were brought by the three wise men. That's gold, myrrh, and frankincense. Myrrh was also used in preparation of the holy anointing oil that was mentioned in Exodus 30. It was mentioned extensively in Songs of Solomon in the context of personal fragrance and beauty preparation. In Esther chapter 1, which is one of the most detailed personal care passages in the Bible, the women being prepared for the king underwent a 12-month extensive beauty regimen. The first 6 months of that regimen consisted entirely of treatment using oil of myrrh. Now, modern research states that myrrh contains a compound called terpenoids, which also has antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties, meaning myrrh can be used to address fungal and bacterial issues that affect scalp or follicle health. And once these issues are addressed, the scalp will be cleaner, and that means there'll be a healthier environment for the hair to grow properly. The next one is another personal favorite of mine. I use it a lot for moisturizing, and it's also one of those things that are added in a lot of hair care products, skincare products, and that is aloe. Aloe vera. Now, aloe is referenced in the Bible in the context of purification, fragrance, and personal care. In Psalm 45, aloe is listed among the fragrance substances used to anoint garments and surroundings. In John 19, Nicodemus brings a mixture of myrrh and aloes, and these things are used to prepare the body of Jesus for burial. In the ancient world, aloe was varied for its cooling, soothing, and healing properties. It was applied to hair and skin as a conditioning treatment, and these things have not changed even up until today. Aloe vera gel contains over 75 active compounds, including vitamins A, C, and E, folic acid, choline, and 8 essential amino acids. Aloe vera is used to repair dead skin cells, whether it's on the body, on the skin, or even on the scalp. And it's also used to stimulate dormant follicles, meaning it helps to promote new hair growth. Now, aloe vera is slightly acidic, but it is very close to the natural pH of the hair and scalp. It helps seal the hair cuticle when applied to the hair strand. It helps to reduce frizz. It helps to define curls, and it helps to keep the hair moisturized overall. One very common way that you can use aloe vera is by applying it directly to your scalp. When I get my hands on some aloe vera, I'm going to do a different video showing you how to use aloe vera alone, or maybe with 1 or 2 extra ingredients as a pre-poo. It's one of the most amazing things you can use on your hair, and I'm speaking as someone who has used it for a very long time. I always use the plant, and if you don't have the plant or you can't access the plant, you can always use the aloe vera gel. It works the same way, and it's very good for your hair. And the next ingredient, also very important and very beneficial for hair, we have castor oil. While castor oil is not mentioned in the Bible by its name, it has been used continuously across the Near East and parts of Northern Africa as well, especially in Egypt. And Egypt shares significant cultural overlap with the ancient biblical world, in case you didn't know. Reports show castor oil being used extensively for hair and skin care, and I'm talking as far back as 4000 BC. The castor plant itself grows in the Middle East, it grows in North Africa. Because of this, I am very sure it would have been readily available for women back in those days. The book of Jonah references the rapid growth of a castor plant. Modern science has given us more than enough reason to understand why castor oil is so relevant to hair care, especially hair care today. Castor oil contains ricinoleic acid, and this is a very unique fatty acid found in very few natural substances. Ricinoleic acid is anti-inflammatory, is antifungal, is antibacterial, it's antimicrobial, and it has stimulating properties, meaning when applied to the scalp, it helps to improve blood flow circulation, which in turn leads to better hair growth. Castor oil is one of the thickest natural oils, and we are normally advised to combine it with some other oils to lighten that consistency. You can use it if you have low porosity hair, if you have high porosity hair, or even medium porosity hair. And then we have henna. Yes, the one that is used as a dye to stain beautiful patterns onto hands or other parts of the body. Henna is derived from the Lawsonia inermis plant, and it has been used across the ancient Near East, North Africa, and India for thousands of years. It is referenced in Songs of Solomon, where the beloved is compared to a cluster of henna blossoms, meaning it also had cultural significance in the biblical world. In ancient times, henna was used not just for cosmetic coloring, but also for its conditioning and strengthening properties on the hair. Modern research still confirms this, and we still use henna as part of our Ayurvedic treatment. In fact, I have a henna mask video that I did just last week or so. I'm going to link it in the description box so you can check that out. It just shows how I used henna in this day and age. So it's not exactly the routine that comes from way back when, but it has been modified and adjusted to include other ingredients that are findable around me and in this day and age. Henna also has antifungal properties that benefit scalp health. It has a natural pH balance that helps still the cortical. What does this entire thing tell us? From the ingredients I mentioned, olive oil, myrrh, aloe, castor oil, and henna, all of these are rooted in biblical times, in the biblical world. All of these were used by women thousands of years ago. They were used with an intuitive understanding of what the earth provided and how these things could be used to benefit the hair and even the rest of the body. Every single one of these things is still used in this modern time. So what modern science has done is give us language to understand how these things can still benefit us. It has also helped to modify these things into refined products that can be used on the hair. So if you cannot find the raw ingredients around you, maybe depending on where you stay, you can definitely access the refined products, meaning the store-bought products, the formulated products, which are often made by extracting these raw ingredients and adding a few other ingredients to make this product. The things will still be very effective for your hair and you would still enjoy the amazing benefits. I hope you learned a thing or two from this video. If you can relate to using any of these ingredients, or if you know someone who has used any of these ingredients, leave a comment below. If you know any other ingredients that may have been mentioned and are still being used in this day and age, even though they are from thousands of years back, also leave a comment below. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.